Hi everyone, at the top of the hour we're going to make some fish for our coral reef model. See you then. Hi everyone, welcome to Carly's Creative Clay. I'm Carly. I'm sorry it's been so long. When your internet works fine, it's brilliant. It's a wonderful thing. When it goes wrong, it can be purgatory, really. We've had 2 lots of engineers out. We should have had a third one today looking at the box on the end of the road. So we'll have to see. I'm really sorry in advance if it falls over. Hopefully it won't though. So, other thing to tell you is I've got new glasses, so I've made new dragons. I hold them up to the camera for you. Oops, this way around. They're a really nice red cat's eye pair, and I got this little guy sort of curled up, and I got him up this end who is stretched out on his back with his arms under his head. So I went for a non-symmetrical this time round. But I'm pleased with them. I love their shape. So if you have followed us on previous episodes, if not, go onto my YouTube. I have all the previous live streams all set up on the channel for you to rewatch. I'm currently working on doing so for my Facebook business page, but it's a little bit disarrayed at the moment. On the past 3 weeks we have been making this coral reef model. It's all polymer clay, it's all made from Fimo. So we've done plants, we've done some crabs, some snails, some starfish, various corals. Yeah, it's pretty busy, very busy, but I'm really pleased with it. The weird thing is, it's very rare for this to happen to me, that I end up sitting down and looking at things that I've made off camera just for ages, just looking at details and stuff like that. The last time it happened was when I did the giant squid with the Viking ship. Anything where it's really busy going on, I've got a whole lot to be able just to sit there and look at how everything's working together. I'm very pleased with this. I did visit the beach while I've been away, so I've got a few little extra pebbles put in here. Never take from the beach anything more than a very few bits. Shouldn't really take anything, but if you're actually going to use it, then I suppose that is okay. But don't take masses, don't take what you're not actually going to use. But I'll tell you more about my beach trip once we get started a bit. Because it was amazing. I had a snorkel. It's a game changer. So this week we're working on fish. It's the last bit that we're going to add to this. I think there's no room for anything else. We're going to have enough of a time getting all the fish to fit in, but I think I can do it. I've got it envisioned. So let's put this model up and out the way, up in the corner. Actually, let's put it in this corner, then you can kind of see it a bit if you want to have a look. There you go, like that. Right, we are focusing on 4 different fish. These are I have made them earlier. And what we got, because I googled it, we have a yellow tang, which is the top line. Clownfish are the next line. My phone would pick that moment to come off. Sorry. Clownfish, antheas, which are the little red one, and surgeonfish. I know Disney's got a hand on those too. Sorry, Disney has definitely got the clownfish and the surgeonfish going on, but we're not using those names because I don't want to get anything flagged up, because Disney is good at spotting this sort of stuff. But they are fishes in their own right and really interesting to make. So let's quickly show you pictures of the real thing. So we have yellow tangs. Really, really cute. Some of them come with little black stripes. Some of them have slight mottled markings to them. I've gone for a plain yellow one because it was sculpted so small.
Very cute.
Thank you, Arty Life. Coral reef fish are just pretty. They really are. Clownfish is the next one. We all know the look of these guys. And it's not easy getting those thin black lines in, but I'll show you how I do it. Now, the Antheas, they look kind of like red goldfish. I was going for a red because we really haven't got that colour too much on our coral reef already. Now, in the light, you can see a tiny amount of blue on that guy. Because of the size that we're working on, I can't get it in. I really can't, and I don't think it will notice that much. There's a lot of stuff on that coral reef that is not entirely perfectly accurate to nature that we know about, because the sea is the place where you find a heck of a lot of new species whenever you go look for one. But yeah, we're gonna go as close to this little guy as we can, but we're minusing the blue. Last one, we have our surgeonfish, or a royal blue tang. It's amazing how many tangs there are knocking around in the water. There seems to be more tangs than there are breeds of dog out there. It's pretty crazy. But here we are. So technically the yellow one and the blue one are cousins, even though they look kind of different. Nature's really interesting like that. So, pictures off. Now, there is a reason why I picked to go in the order that I'm going in here, and it's the advice I will always give to my clayers. Work out in your planning, try and go from the lightest colour through the colour wheel spectrum to the darkest colour. Now this is my order for claying, if possible. So it just means you haven't got to wash your hands so much. You want to always start with white, because everyone knows white is a fiend for picking up everything, other colours, bits of dust, discovering new particles, because everything sticks to it. It's crazy. Anyway, so you go white, then you go yellow. Now you're going down the warm side of the spectrum. I always like to start warm first. So white down to yellow, orange, then your red, then from your pink, then red, because pink is basically red and white. It's a light red. So pink, then red, then you're on to your in between. Now the good way to jump between your warms and your colds is purple, because purple is your red and your blue mixed together. So after red, I'll do my purples, then I do my blues, and then I do my greens, and then brown, then black. And you find your hand washing amount goes down, but it doesn't go away. But that's what I found anyway. So we're starting with our yellow tangs, and what I'm doing them with is neon yellow. So I've got some bits of clay already prepped up for it all. Now let's start with a body. So actually that's a bit smaller. Let's go for the smaller bit. What we're going to start out with is, let's hold it up and get me a pointy stick so I can show you what I'm talking about. Back down. Right, the main leaf shape body bit is the first bit. that we're going to make. So get your ball and you're going to turn it into a teardrop like that, but you don't want to bring that point really too pointy, because it does do kind of a almost flat rounded end to it. Then we're going for the tip of the face, and that I'm coming up to the circle bit and I'm just pinching very slightly like that, and I'm going to start to bring that leaf down a little flatter. So once I got it, I'll show you it in profile. Do you see what I mean? That's the top, that's the side. Yeah, top, side. So it's a little bit flatter, but it's still got a lot of its curve. Now that's the first bit. Now we're on to fins. We will be coming back and doing more with that face though. So let's double check. Top fin. It's up to you whether you want to go do the top fin first or the bottom fin. Either way, taking a little pinch of yellow like so, and we're going to stretch that to the length of that body, and we're going to taper each of the ends, so like that. See, pointed ends, but kind of a long flat sausage, and we're going to attach that to the top, but you want to stop where the head starts. So if I pick this up, can you see we're stopping? Let's use the other hand. We're stopping there. We're not bringing it all the way down to the mouth. We're stopping at the very top where the forehead is, just where the eyes is. So if you've over-rolled, which I've done, get your little craft knife out. We're not going to be using tissue blades a lot on this, I tell you. It's all tiny work. And you're going to follow. There's the curve of the head. That would be the line of where the head is.
Liz says good morning.
So you... Good... Hey, Liz. It's evening for me, but good morning for you. And we're going to diagonal across there. And cut that off. See? So then I've ended up with that top fin. The bottom fin, you're going to need a little bit more of a different shape, only slightly. So again, I like to take too much clay rather than not enough. We're going just into a very thick stick, almost like a tic tac. And then we're going to go either side and start to twist those into a point, like so. So this one, we're going to have far more of a hilled shape to it, rather than a single thickness all the way along, if that makes sense. So like so. It looks like you made a little yellow hill for your finger, and that's going on the bottom, and you're starting it just under the chin, so almost in the same place, maybe just slightly forward than the top one, and then going back like so. Doesn't look like a fish yet, I can tell. Stick with me, it will. I'm going to just trim that down a bit because it's a little bit too long, like that. Now we're going to get a towel. So little blob of clay, like so. Now what I like to do is use anything that's got a flat side. You can use a needle, you can use a toothpick, anything that you can just do that and fold it halfway along. That gives you a good start point to be able to get your fingers in there. We're going to start to push that a little bit flat, point those two bits that we just made. Then I do need to put it down to start to work on it. Have I got a pin tool? Yeah, here we go, pin tool. Keep my blade out of the way. I'm just using the pin tool to exaggerate down that towel dip because what I was using was too thick. Like so. Have a fiddle until you get it how you want, but you want it to look almost like two teardrops joined. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. You can get that and then put that onto. That was it. It needs a rounded base. Almost. What I'm going to do with the tip of that is just push it in so that there is a curve for the rest of that body to sit in. So that's the end result. And we're going to get that and stick that tidiest side upwards. Push that into place like so. A ball tool is a useful thing just to make sure everything's joint on properly. You want to make sure the underside is fully attached as well, but because we're going to stick that to the actual reef, you only really need one side looking particularly pretty. So let's go in and put in some of these textures. Face it so that the towel is facing your face, and we're going to come in with our needle tool, or literally with a pin or a needle, just put in little lines on those fins diagonally backwards. And you're going to do the same on the other side. The other tool that is really useful, especially when you want to do very thin lines, is a felting needle. If you look at it up close, there's no way I can get it on camera. It's actually a triangle, so each side has these very thin flat edges to them, so you can end up with far smaller lines. That's what I'm going to use along that bottom there. And I'll hold it up and show you the difference between a pin tool and a felting needle for line thicknesses. Right, let's see. This is going to be an effort of focusing. Sorry, Jamie. Do you see what I mean? Those bottom ones are a lot thinner than those top ones, yeah? It's just about visible. What I'm also going to do is gently hold the fish, get that felting needle, and along that tip put in a little mouth. Just splay it open just slightly, a little bit, like so. Oh, I'm off the screen. Sorry. And then I drop it. Let's put it on the back of my hands. Can you see? So I pushed the felting needle into that gap like that and then widened it. Yeah? So now you've got a little mouth. Now we're gonna put in the lines, the denty little lines on it. If you bring up a yellow tang again, can you see it's got the, along from the eye to the towel, there's that dent line, which is I think probably part of its spine. Then it's got a dip down from eye to mouth in a semicircle, which is a gill line, and then it brings another line down to the bottom, which makes it into almost Y shape. Yeah? So we're going to need to put those on next. And what I use is the smallest ball tool that you can buy. If you haven't got them, you can make your own ball tool, but at this sort of size it's very difficult to do. But what I advise is a cocktail stick where you have shaped the clay around the top of it, but you're really going to struggle at this sort of small size. The head of a pin might work actually, but they sell these Amazon, eBay, lots of craft stores. There's a set of like 5 or 7 of them, all with wooden handles, going up to that size ball, and I think they're around £5. I love them. They're some of my most used tools, and I do try and advise ways of using something else, but with this technique there is nothing I can do about it. You need something like this, and you're going to be really gentle. Let's get a glass towel and see about moving it up. Sauce. Just dropping things, don't mind me. Right, new white towel, like this. Bring it up to there. Is that alright?
Perfect.
Let's stick you on better. The first one I'm going to do is mark out where the head is going to be.
Turn that exposure down to get more contrast.
Like that. Then that back line, which goes from here up that back. Then we've got a bit of a line going into the face to make that Y shape, like so. So you've got that little cheek, line going up, line going back. Yeah? I know it's hard to see because it's yellow, but that's as best as we can do. So you've got your lines in. Now we got that little, sorry about that, that's loud. We got our little front flipper. So tiny bit of yellow. Don't need a lot. We're on a little pinch, like so, into a ball. You're going to form it into a teardrop by just twisting it in your finger at one end. If it goes too long, just push on it and it'll stub itself back up. Once you've got the shape you like, just push it flat. See? And you can hold each side, just tap on it if it's too long and thin for you. Like so. Yeah, looks like a very tiny guitar pick. Before we're going to put that on, we're going to put some little lines on it. So we're going to put it on our tile. Let's pick my tile up. And definitely going to be using my felting needle. We're going to go from the point to the tip. I can fit 3. It's just another detail on that fin that makes it look more like the real thing. Now, attaching this, you've got to be careful. And what I tend to do, I like using one of my ball tools that's slightly too big for the job, so it picks it up properly. You want to pick up from the tip of that point, probably this ball tool, or along that line. Can you see? Let's put it down and bring it up. along that sideline, or you can pick up from the tip. But you're only going to place, and you want to place it just above where that cross meets. See?
Focus.
Like that.
Let's get focus.
Now, go down to a smaller tool. Actually, this one might do fine. Too big. That one. Smaller ball, and you're going to just smooth in that very tip, like so, to make it look like it's part of the one fish. Now all we got to do now is get those eyes, get an eye on it, and we're sorted. Oh, I've not put tail lines on. That's silly. Right. We are going out like that, and then out like this. Let's fill in that gap. There we go. Some lines on the tail. This texture is our friend. Little gold eye. You're going to want the tiniest bit. That may even be too big. Let's take it down to this. Right. Can you see how small the piece is? Let's put it on my white tile so you've got a better look. See how tiny we're talking? Tiny, tiny, tiny bit of gold. Sorry. Rolling it into a ball. Put it where you think your fisheye should be. So, kind of diagonal up from the mouth. Like that. Now we need to give it a pupil. And I will show you the easiest way to get the tiny, tiny amounts of clay. Because you can't pinch it off because your fingers are too big and chunky. So what I've got is that black. I'm going to take my pin tool. I'm just going to scratch the surface. And can you see the pin tool picks up the tiniest amount of black when you scratch it? Yeah? And that's what we're going to use. And if it ends up being too big, which I will show you what you can do. Dang it, that's the right size. Of course you'd be the right size. Well, I need some more for the red ones anyway. So let's get a bit that's too big. So scratchy, scratchy, scratchy. I know I'm off camera, but you just saw me do that. So it took too much there. So I roll it into a ball on my hand and say that is too big a dot. So then I roll that into the tiniest stick ever, and then you can start to divide that stick with your pin tool like so. Rolling your tool against your hand will get the clay off of it. See, so we've got one. Come on, cut where I want you to. There you go. 2. And 3 eyes out of that bit that was too big.
If you can find.
Found it. See? I know there's scrappy bits there, I'll wipe them off. You can then pick them up and put them into place, but I'm going to put them on my spare board because then that means I've got a few black eyes to put into things. I haven't got to keep repeating that. Now, don't forget about the schmutz on your hand. Can you see all the black there? It's easy to forget about it and go, okay, I'm just going to carry on with what I'm doing quickly. That transfers onto clay really easily wipe your hand clean. Like so. Now you can pick up your tiny balls and place them with a pin tip or with a small ball tool. It's up to you. Just make sure that if you're using your pin tool, you're not digging a hole, you're just going to place it on and let you get it center. Give it a good tap down. You want especially small details like that to be firmly fixed on at this stage, because can you imagine trying to epoxy glue that back into place?
No.
You just can't. I would venture to say it's impossible unless you've got extra microscopes and tools that work with tiny things, but basically practically impossible. So now you may want to just lift your whole fish up. I warn you, you may end up breaking its tail off. Use your tissue blade just to free it up, and when you move it around, the bit that you've got to worry about smudging is that eyeball. So I like to pick them up by their lips. I like to pick them up by their lips like that, so then I'm not smudging any detail. But be very, very gentle. You don't want to really put any pressure. So, gonna level up the hardest fish on the board. We're doing the clownfish. So let's give my tools a quick wipe down. Shouldn't need much because we're going over to orange.
Let me know if you want me to zoom out again, otherwise I'm staying zoomed in for the detail.
Nice big old chunk of orange. So this one gets a lot more complicated. Let me get my tester clownfish onto my glass, and what we're going to do is first section off a little bump by squeezing around one side to just produce that tiny little ball like that. See? So you made almost like a spinning top shape. You can, if you want help defining your bump, use a ball tool and just use the side as a roller like that, just to bring your little bump as a nice separate entity. That is going to be your towel. Now with the rest of this teardrop of clay, we're going to form it into a longer, more sleek looking fish. So we're pulling and bringing the tip into a point like that. Now along that top, at the very front, let's bring that nose down a little, just tapping on there and pinching around the front to get that nice curved face shape. On the very top of its body, it has two fins, that little one and a longer straight one there. Whoops. Let's try and point it without my finger. That one. We're going to form those by pinching. So the first one comes here. You're going to pinch some clay and get your ball tool in and say, I want you tiny and little like that. See? That's the first bump. Then we got the longer back bump. Little pinch along that top, and again define the sides out with your ball tool, probably like that. If your top is too round, give it a little tap and straighten it up by squeezing and tapping. So that's our first bit. I know that looks kind of weird, but there we are. Now we're going to go down to the underside towards the back, about there. We're going to run our ball tool and make a little indent like that. See? So then that lets you get your finger in, pinch one side up like that, pinch the other side up like that. And again, we want to just flatten out the sides and make them look more flipperish.
Yeah, adding definition.
Adding definition. Now, I get this shape looks a little bit weird right now, so I'm going to come around and just give it some taps till I get it in the shape that I want, like that. And then we come on to this towel. What I tend to do is I first start to try and get it into a triangle, so I push it flat and then I pinch each side and pull until you get that nice little flat bottomed towel, and pinch the ends of the towel so it's thin, like that. Now suddenly, just by doing that, that looks far more like a fish.
Yep.
Now we gotta get him decked out in his colour scheme. So wipe your hands, because you can see slight orange tinge to my fingers. If I pick up slight orange,
that's quite strong.
is it a strong one? Yeah. Well, under that light, what I'm gonna do, I'm even gonna wet wipe, because white really likes to pick up everything. And when your wet wipes dry out, just put them under the tap, give it a shake. You've got wet wipes again. Don't throw away wet wipes for being dry. You can also put isopropyl alcohol in with your wet wipe, and then because isopropyl alcohol melts down polymer clay. I mean, not to a point like, you know, Wizard of Oz level of gone. It it will melt the top layer, so we use it to clean off, but water should suffice just to get your hands not looking so schmooey. I would only do this level of clean when I'm jumping over to white or to light yellow, or some of the pastels hide other colour mixes a little better than others, but you get the idea. That face is looking very weird. Let's tap you down, move this fin back a little, like that. That looks more right. There we go. Right, so do that straight after you washed your hands. That's not smart. Okay, so we're gonna have a bit of white, and we're gonna start to flatten it. So I'm gonna push it onto my towel like so. Now, don't try and pull it off your towel. You're going to snap it. Use your blade. Bring your blade towards you. It will roll up. Just make sure it doesn't stick to itself, or you're going to have a job untangling it. So, that's my first bit of white. That goes in front of the back fin and between the two head fins. So, we're going in like that and up like that. You can make it slightly thicker. You'll find each clownfish has its own set of markings, the thickness of the white and the black lines. Now, that looks a little too straight for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill out some of this line, but add in a bit more white like that, just to give it some more wavier shapes. And then I use my ball tool just to blend it into the rest of the white line. See? Smooth it out with your finger, and suddenly that line is not so perfectly one thickness. Then we got a little one that goes in front of that head flipper. Now, because I'm not using the back side of these fish, they're going to be stuck to something. That's why I'm not so bothered at getting this all the way around. When I did clownfish's charms, I had to make sure both sides looked fabulous. Now I want a bit of a curve so that, there you go. You really want to bring it round and out so it's like almost a C shape. So you've got room to get that eye in there. Oops, don't thin out your fish. I'm going to tap that flat, and I'm going to use my tile to help do so. Sorry, I pushed on its side. I'm just bringing its side back up by pinching, because it was a flat fish for a second there. There we go, we're back. And we got one last white stripe around the towel. Oops, that is black. I don't need you yet. If you want, the other way of getting different thicknesses of line is you push some together. So you go either side of your strip of clay and almost pinch it, and that will thicken. And then next to it we're going to roll a little thin section like that. If it snaps, just rejoin it back together, because once it's on the clownfish we can smooth it all out. That's what I want, like that. But you're going far too far forward, so I'm just going to give you a little bit of a roll to bring you back to where I want. Tuck you underneath, like so. Like that. That's good. Push it down, because the reason why I'm pushing it down is the marking is all one level on the clownfish. They're not raised, the white or black section, so you want to make it the same level as the rest of the fish. And I'm coming in with a ball tool just to do the same along the sides there and there, because I can't get my fingers in there. Right, now for the even trickier bit, we're going to have to get this black down to so thin that I can edge these lines out. And that takes some finagling. So be really gentle. Be very thankful that, again, the black line is not uniform thickness all the way along, so you haven't got to get it absolutely perfect. Like so. That's a good starting point. I'm going to use my ball tool to help guide it. Easiest thing I've found, use your ball tool, press it on the tip of your fin bit, and then you can pick it up like that, and then you really can actually guide where you want it placed. Oops. Just follow the shape of your white line with your black line. Sorry, I know I'm over the top. I just need to see what I'm doing there. Like so. And we come in the other side of the white line. I'm going to keep doing this whilst I quickly tell you about my experience of going to the UK beach. I was under the delusion that we were going to end up seeing no real wildlife in the water because it's quite cold, and I thought it'd be murky, and I'd look under with my new snorkel and goggles and see nothing. And I was so wrong. First off, you will be amazed at how many crabs there are under your feet. There were people playing and all that, and as they were stepping down, I was watching all the crabs move out of the way. So you don't step on the crabs because they can see your shadow of your foot coming in. But there were so many of them. I was literally able to pick them up, find one within 10 seconds and pick it up. And the kids around me were like, oh my god, where'd you get all these crabs from? I'm like, it's so simple once you can see under the water for a longer period of time. I didn't have a nose clip, so I had to spend my time pinching my nose whilst I was under. So I've rectified that. I've ordered a nose clip off of the internet, and I can't wait to go back. The other thing I saw was, if you look around the, what are they called, the bits of wood along the beach that divide up, it's the wave breakers or break line or something like that. If you look under the water around there, you see fish and crabs and all sorts of things hanging around and hiding next to the wood. And also, when you're in the shallows, look around you, because there was twice there's a shoal of really tiny see-through like fish. It took me a minute or two to notice that I was surrounded by them, but they were really prolific. We're talking 50 to 100 fish in the shoal, and I was able to stand up. I'm not the greatest swimmer, so yeah, I was bedridden for 2 days. Absolutely knackered, especially where I was walking around but bent over looking in the water. My back screamed. So this looks scruffy, I know. I will show you how to de-scruffy it. So first off, we're going to use a blade to take it off its tile, like so, and then all these little sticky uppy bits I'm going to fold over so that they're not seen, and it looks like it just continues like that. And I'm going to tap all the black down so it's the same level as the white. Then if you look very closely, there are a few black dots smudging on there that I don't want them to be there. So this is where we come in with some rubbing alcohol and a cotton bud. I don't use my isopropyl 100% neat. I mix it to 70% with water, which is what rubbing alcohol is. I find 100% you don't have as much control on, and also 70% will do the job and get rid of it, and your alcohol will go further. See, you don't need to be really rough. If you gouge at it, you're going to end up with a big mark on your clay. But we're just doing anyway, you don't want that black. Little sweeps of your cotton bud. There we go. That's still a little denty, so I'm reshaping it. There. That's better. So we've now got to tip some of these fins with black. So first fin is this, the long ones down the bottom there, and we really need this very thin for these fin tips. But I have not seen a clownfish who did not have black fin tips. So we're going real thin, even thinner than we went for those lines. And because this top fin is sticking up in the air, it's the hardest one. You've got to use your fingers and pinch it on. Like that. Don't unstick. Come on. Attach properly. There we are. Then turn it upside down so you can get to the two top fins. And just edge that. I might use my ball tool for that actually. Because the thinner you go with your clay, the harder it is to control it. You can paint this on with acrylic. So the thing with painting on with acrylic is that you are going to find that you need to seal it. Because plastic, as we all know, is not porous. So it won't absorb your paint. Which is a problem. If it sits on the surface, it means you can rub it off. Which is what you didn't want to do. So you have to seal it in with a varnish. And to make matters worse, there are some varnishes that will never dry on polymer clay. It will keep staying sticky forever. What you're looking for is a polyurethane varnish. If it says polyurethane, you can use it. Because there is a chemical in your polymer clay that keeps the plastic, because this is PVC, in this soft dough-like consistency, and it can do the same to other plastics, and it can react with your varnish from setting. So we're coming in and putting some ridges on. So if you can see, we've now got nice little black tips to all our fins. Yeah, that will need fixing there. Let's take that tip off because I think it's going to cause trouble in the future. There we go. So I'm going to come in and score some little lines on the towel. Like so. Then get my finger under that fin. Let's come on the screen. Under that fin. And score some lines on that fin. Then up the top. Some little lines on the long one. And some little lines on that top stubby one. There we are, we're getting there. He's almost looking like a clownfish. We've got some eyes to put on, and luckily clownfish are plain black eyed, so I haven't got to do the gold with the little black dot. It's amazing how many fish have gold eyes. I think it would be really cool if humans had gold eyes as a colour option. I know we've got light brown and we've got hazel, both of which can look kind of gold-like. But fish do actual proper gold. Like this. We're going to put a little mouth on with our felting needle. Then we've just got a little triangle to put its side fin on. So little ball of clay like we made with the other one into a triangle teardroppy type shape, pinch it flat, This one, though, we need to edge it with black. So we've got our black back, and we're going to go and wrap that along the edge of the front like that. Do make sure you've got these black lines stuck down properly, because they really would be next to impossible to reattach. Then we're going to put some little stripes in it and attach it. Ball tool. Now we're going in front of that white line, just touching the edge nearest the head like that. Now again, don't try and pull it off, use your blade. But here is our clownfish. Was that good? So your fish, they all tend to follow the same sort of thing, same sort of body plan, so it can be pretty simple to get them all made. Clean my tile up, and we're on to Anthias fish. So for that, I think the Anthias is probably one of the easiest ones I'm making. Still want a bit of towel, and because it's a lot smaller, I'm going to separate that out using my ball tool from the start, like that. And what I'm using my finger for is to stop me from pushing that little top nub over and breaking it off. So like that. It kind of looks like a bowling pin. It's that sort of look. Now, I got paper stuck to my hand. There we are. Right, we're going to point the front like so, and then we're going to split that towel into two. When the towel's this tiny, trying to stick one on like we did with the yellow tang, you've got far more chance of it falling off. So I just shape it out of the clay that it's already attached to it. Now this one's got a lot more pronounced towel flippers, so we're going to bring those points up and out. It's creased down a little. I don't know if you can see that. There's a big crease line just along that join line there. Yep. So I'm just going to come in with a ball tool. You just come in and smooth it out. If you use a ball tool that's too big for the section, it makes it next to impossible. There we go. Right, fish shaped. That would be a really basic fish, so we're pretty good on that. Now I'm going to come in, put a little mouth on it. I always tilt my mouths upwards so it's got a tiny bit of a smile going on. I don't know why, especially with fish. I always do it with fish. But according to me, fish are happy. So I'm going to secure it to my towel to help me change some of the things. I want a little bit more thinness when we get to that towel. So I'm just using my needle to do so. Like that. That I'm more happier with. So let's see, you do have a top ridge. We're going to come along that very tip, just give it a pinch like that. So we've got that thin top fin. Again, he goes back on these tile, and I just make sure that that body shape is how I want. And I'm going to come in and start to put some lines on that back fin. It always goes diagonally away from the head.
Yeah, hedgehogs have so many fish.
Yeah, coral reef.
Many fish.
Yeah, they got tons. The ecosystem on a coral reef is actually incredible, even with coral bleaching, which is what we got going on at the moment. And coral bleaching isn't the end of the story. The coral is dead, there is no way back, because coral can reform its colour. Because what happens with bleaching, coral is basically a calcium shape with microorganisms living in it, and it's the microorganisms that give it its colour. Thanks to the pH and temperature of the water being out, it leaches out those organisms and they end up in the water, and the coral looks like a white ghost. But you get it all back right again, and they can regain those life forms and get itself back on track. So we're going to do those little tick fins on the underside. So the first one is longer than the second one, so it's easier to get your balls sized up against each other before you're shaping them. So that's probably what I'm looking at. Now I could roll this into a ball and then bring it back out into a point, but I can't be bothered. So what I'm going to do is push on one side and pinch the other and bring it into that long triangle shape, like so. Now what we're going to do is we're going to curve that by tapping on the end of that triangle to bring it over into that almost ticked shape thing, and then we're going to attach it onto the fish, and this goes closest to the back is the long one, like so. We've got to get a ball tool in and smooth that on, or you've got a chance of it falling off, and it doesn't look like the actual. How have I got black on that? Always clean your tools, or you're back with your rubbing alcohol removing black from your red that had no business having any black near it in the first place. Cleanliness makes life easier, in theory. There we go, all gone. Give it a quick tap down to dry. Right, what I'm going to do is use my thin ball tool just to make a little bit more of a curve in that, and then bring the shape that I want like this. So it's like almost like a J you've done with your thin, and then you've got the small little tick to do on the top, which is this one. And again, you're gonna, because that's got a big crease line down it, I form it into a ball. Then we're going to form that into a little triangle by literally using your fingers to form a triangle around it. Push it flat. There's your triangle. And that's what we're going to attach to the front of the fish underneath. Like that. And again, join it on, because I don't know about you, but can you see that big join line on the small fin? Let's see, can I? Does that help? No? Can you focus? Right, see that join line on that one as opposed to on that one? It makes it look very
You need
much
to change the exposure.
like you've just, it's not attached properly.
No, the exposure on red doesn't make any
Okay.
difference.
It shows up enough. You can see the join line there. Just by smoothing that in, look at that. Doesn't it make it now look like part of that fish? Whereas before it kind of looked like something you just plonked on. So we're going to come in and we're going to put in the little lines. It's easier to do that on the front fin first. Just bringing it out into the tip like so, and then on that large one you're going to follow that J shape around. So I'm going to do 3 and then I'll come round that corner like that. Does that show up, the lines on that?
I don't think so, but I can't check. Like I said, changing the exposure doesn't change.
Okay, well I put some little score lines on that bottom bit of fish.
It works for yellow and white.
It works for yellow and white. It's not working so well on my red. Tiny little fin on the front. We'll be getting to our blue fish soon anyway. That fin is too big. So what you can do is just get your blade and trim it down to a triangle that you want.
Grey Hedgehog says, I can see the lines of the tail.
Oh cool, thank you. Pick it up with your ball tool and on halfway along and smudge that front in so that it looks attached. Like that, we've now got a fin. See? In real life, I know it looks like a big red blob at the moment for you all, but in real life you can really see fish details. So it isn't worthless. When you come to make this, you will find it's all these steps are actually worth it. I'm putting that mouth back in a little deeper. There we go. Now for another one of those golden black eyes. So tiny ball of gold. That's too big. It's half that. Like this. What I would say, because we're not felters, we are clayers. If your felting tool snaps, don't throw it away and get another handle. They come out like that. There's a little hook and you can buy packs of needles like that and you just put it back in. There are several different felting tool handles that you can get. I like the one I've got because it lets you put a lid on it, because that is one pointy little needle.
Very sharp.
It's very sharp. Some of them don't. They have big round needles. You can also get felting handles that hold many needles. So it, again, that can be helpful for texturing, but I love that little one that I've got. Very, very cheap felting needles because they are expected to break a lot. So that's the gold on. Let's put the little black on. And I'll hold him up. There we go. One finished fish.
Pretty fish. Oh,
Oop.
that's the bottom. Right.
There you go, I went too far. Like that. So, like I said with all the others, release it with your tissue blade. Make sure when you put your tissue blade down that it's out of anywhere that you're liable to lean your arm or catch your arm, and that you put it down with the blade facing away from you. get into the habit day one of doing that, because it's so easy just to lean on it and end up with cuts down your arms that you do not want. So let's learn from our last time of getting black on the tool from the tools. Give it a quick wipe down, and it's really the same set of tools for all of my fish. I use an X-Acto knife. You won't find one which is just silver like this. It had a rubber cover on that I've used so much that has worn off, but it's just the standard X-Acto knife. And then it's needle tool, 2 ball tools, my tissue blade, and my felting needle. So we are on to the surgeonfish or dory, like that. Right, now she's got a lot more of a round shaped body, so we're really only concerned with our ball in shaping a mouth. So tiny little point to it like that, and then we're gonna put it down, but we're not pushing it flat all the way on top like that. We're gonna bring the sides down. We're gonna start making it thinner, but you really want like a domed shape with a surgeonfish. You do with all of them, but where they look so dish-like, it shows more if you've got it completely flat. So that is good for me. And can you see it is a nice dome shape? That's what you want. So I would not take off enough blue for. Let's get some more blue. Sorry about this. That one. Just opening up my clay drawer because I need a bit for that top and bottom fin. And again, we are bringing it out and pointing the ends, going across the top from the forehead. So that's our front. So from the forehead, like this, down the back, like that. And then another bit on the underside. Like so. I'm sure this has to be one of my busiest models, but I really do love it. I've had people ask, can you use polymer clay to make aquarium furniture? You can. Over time it will lose some of its colour though. It can do a bit of a bleaching type thing. Right, now dark blue. One of these was dark blue. Yeah, this one. Sorry. I've mixed up some of the royal blue and some black so that this is almost black but not black. So you need some of that, and then we need to get our yellow back to do our towel and our flipper with. So, yellow. The towel is another one of those long elongated triangle shapes. This time we're just going to stick it straight over where that join was of the top and the bottom fins, like that. Keep some yellow to one side because we're going to put a little top fin on, but we're going to do that once I put in some of these dark markings. So what we're going to do is, let's thin that out a little bit more than this. Now we're going from the tip or one of the sides, a little higher up. Sorry, I'm just getting it in line. Ooh. Sometimes just getting that line up, it's so tricky. We're going down the side like this, following it until you're halfway at the bottom. Then we're going to come up over the side and down to there, where you think its eyeball should be, and that's where we're going to cut off, like that. So rounded, flatten you out, and you can use a ball tool just to get that straight line down to the eye. Once you've got it positioned how you want, we're going to push it down so that it's the same level as the rest of the fish, like that. Then the other side, again, thin this out just a little bit more than what it is. We're going to start on underside up to the tip, and we're going to go up to where we found the first dark blue, and then we're just going to go straight across and cut that there. So it's a shorter line, and it's a bit straighter than what I've got it there. So let's have a bit of a fiddle. That's what you should be looking for. Yeah? And once you've got it how you want and you're happy with it, push it down flat. Then we are going to do a little bit more that's dark blue. We need a really, really thin bit. So we're going to thin this right out, because that top dorsal fin has a blue edge to it. So that's probably thin enough. And again, get it to join on, push it up against that top fin, and then cut it where you need to. I know there are people who get on that I don't measure anything. Sorry.
Only very slightly, just slightly forward.
I'm just getting it so that that blue line is laying at the bottom like that before I push it down.
You're actually harder to see.
Sorry.
Than you were on the ground before.
How's that?
Perfect.
There we go. Make sure it's stuck down firmly. Then you can come in and put ridges on. I didn't really notice any ridges on the... Yeah. See, that top and bottom didn't seem to have ridge lines. So they're not getting ridge lines. We are, however, going to pick out the shape of its mouth, but just under its chin. Just sort of slightly round from that blue dot, round under its chin, like that. Tiny little line. And we're going to give it a mouth, like we did on all of them. Like that. Now, we've got to put a black eyeball on. So what I do is at the end of that top curve of blue, get your ball tool and make a little eye socket, like so. Go back to your black, get a tiny little black ball, back bit of clay, make it into a ball. And we're going to put that into that space, like so. Then some lines on that tail fin. So dunk, 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 dunk. Now we just got that little side fin to do. Now again, if you're making it as a larger charm or something where you're going to see both sides of the fish, you have got to make sure that you repeat this on the other side of the fish. And it is harder, I know, trying to do it all when you're not smushing the flippers, the little side fins. I would say put the side fins on as the very last thing once you've done all the rest of the details, and you just got to be really careful about smushing your work. They have the tiniest little side flippers, tiny little ball, so that's what you're looking at, tiny little ball. And we're gonna shape that into its teardrop, and we're gonna push it down thin like that. And then that, you know how the eye went at the end of the top line, the fin is going at the end of the bottom line. Oops. Like that. And I'm going to smudge it in so that it looks attached and also is attached. And there's our surgeonfish.
Happy surgeonfish.
See?
No, too far. There you go.
Just trying to make sure you can see what's sticking out and what's not.
Triangles, yeah.
Right. So now for the fun bit. Let's get all my tools out the way. Let's get these all onto one. Again, make sure I remove it using my tissue blade, because I don't want to tear anything that I don't want teared. Like so. Put you out of the way. Put you out of the way. Get my model, and we're going to place fish. So I'm thinking, let's get a blue one and stick that to the front of that funnel coral. Get a little red one, put that in down next to this brain coral like that. And you've got to make sure that you're pushing it on hard enough to stick, but not hard enough that you're smudging all the detail that you just made, which is tricky, I agree, but necessary. Like that. And we're literally just going to go around and start adding fish to things. See? I've got two on the leaf there. Let's put another, let's put a yellow one on this one. And you can just build it up, and don't forget we've got the sides and the back, because this is not a picture, it's a model. And that's why we got so many fish. If I tried to put all those all on the front, it would not have had room. You see, I'm trying to make them contrast behind the colours that I'm choosing to put them against. Let's stick you in here. Put another little red one down here. And they would be in clusters of their own kind, not so dotted around. But sometimes they go off for a little bit of a forage feed, so it's not so way out there to have them near to each other but not right on top of each other. It's hard to depict a shawl on something like this because you really have only got so many layers you can build on itself before you're not seeing what's behind it. Whoop. Let's get in there. There you go. Put a blue one up here. Once I've got them all on, I will show you where I put them all. Let's see, can I get you in here? And when you're using the other side as leverage, make sure that you're not smudging any detail that you can't get back without a lot of work. So that's the last thing you want. One last yellow fish to place. Where shall we put you? I've got a lot of blue around here. Let's take you off and put you over on this side. That's the good thing about clay, is you can take bits off and jiggle them around a bit like that, and put that yellow one where that blue one was, and then I'll come and hold it up and show you all what we've been up to. There we are. Right, so first off, before you bake a model, you need to be able to be certain. Let's find a grippy place. That's a good grippy place. That you can do that and nothing is falling off. Because if it's falling off at this stage, it's falling off after you're baking it and then you're gluing. Whereas this, you just have to push it back on. So now we've made sure we've got everything attached. Let's give you a final look-see. We have in the side edge like this, and then let's show you round the back. Whoop.
Fairy hedgehog is amazing.
Like this.
It is amazing.
And whoops, let's try and flip it without dropping it.
That is amazing.
Thank you very, very much. I'm really pleased with it. And definitely the best way of showing you how to do boring things like starfish and fish and crabs, which would have been kind of a boring lesson on their own, but put them in stuff and you're good. Now I'm expecting, once this is baked, these little pebbles that I've got around the front here are going to need to come off and get re-glued. You can have a feel once it's baked, see if you can lever it. Already I can lever that up quite well. The reason why I'm putting them in place before I bake them is because they're gonna, if you push them in place beforehand, they'll make the nice dent in exactly the size crater so that you've made it uniform around the clay.
It's awesome. Fairy hedgehog says what glue.
The glue that I use is 2-part epoxy. I've tried all sorts. Definitely don't use super glue, because remember how I said that polymer clay can cause weird reactions with some things? Super glue is one of them, and it does an interesting thing. It does this thing, and it can take anything from a few hours to do this to, I think the longest I've had is 8 months when I come back to an item and then found that end result had happened. It will completely release the bond that it's just made, so all what you stuck on will be fallen off, but everywhere where the glue was, all around the outside, is a white stain. The chemical reaction that it does puts off this white substance, and you then got to try and scour that off. So if you want, I can show you. I think I've got a bottle somewhere. can you grab me over there on the shelf? There is a carafe that's got all that white staining on. Bottom shelf. And I'll show you what I mean. It's... Science is weird, and this is definitely some chemistry stuff. Can you see it? Huh. Alright, I'll show you next episode. I'll get it ready. But yeah, it can do some weird chemical stuff that leaves like almost a... It looks frosted. Sometimes people have used super glue, especially super glue gel, and never had that problem. But I've used super glue gel and it has. So you're taking your own risks at it. 2-part epoxy is what I always use as my go-to, and if you want to learn tips and tricks on how to use 2-part epoxy, there is a video I've made on my channel that is specifically gluing stuff with 2-part. Right, so I'll get this baked up. I'm gonna varnish it because I think it'll look really good with that wet look. If I used my Ronsil Diamond Hard varnish, it has a slightly yellow tint to it because it's a wood stain varnish. They don't do it in clear as far as I've found, but that's the one with the shiniest gloss. I know people are going to say I can coat it in epoxy, especially things like UV epoxy. Epoxy can cause a lot of problems for you. It can cause respiratory issues. You can end up with skin rashes and all sorts of stuff. I use it now and then as a glue. So small amounts. I'm not mixing up big cups of the stuff to pour over anything. Facebook has a site called has a group called Epoxy Is Not My Friend, and it goes into what the kind of reactions people have. So it does do my head in when people are doing these big epoxy pours and they've got no gloves on, they've got no respirator on, they've got nothing. You're running risks, that's all I'm saying. So you won't catch me using it as a varnish or as even more like a part of the mixed media thing I'm making. I'd love to put that in a box and fill it up with actual varnish so it's a cube. Not varnish, epoxy. That would look so cool, and then I could sort of dangle floating fish in it and all that sort of stuff. I'm aware it would take my clay into another level. I don't have the ventilation for it, and I have skin and lungs that react to everything. Everything. I'm not risking it. So, instead of using the Ronsil, because it's got the good shine, I am going to probably end up with, my Duraclear gloss varnish. It dries quick. It's not as shiny. Here, chair falling backwards. Here. Ronsil dries like that. You can see how shiny that is. Duraclear, this stuff, dries like this. So there is a shine, but it's not a Ronsil shine. And you hear a lot of people have been talking about Wilkinson's varnish. That's what that dries like. So it's quite matte. But again, both the Deco Art and the Wilkinson's one are very quick drying and they're crystal clear. I just wish that Ronsil floor varnish had a clear. Just wish it did. It takes forever to dry as well. You've got like, don't think you're going to be doing 2 coats in the same day. You're not. It's so shiny. Anyway, I'll get that baked, I'll get it varnished, and when we get on with next week, I will show you at the start how we ended up. Not really sure what I'm doing next week. I will let you know on my Facebook over this week once I've worked it out. You can either follow Carly's Creative Clay on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and all that sort of stuff. But also on Facebook you can follow Carly Langridge. I also post stuff about myself and all this clay and malarkey on my personal page. So my last name is spelled Langridge. I think there's 2 Carly Langridges, but you can see which one's mine because none of my stuff is set as anything but public, so you can go on my page and it's pretty obvious the amount of claying stuff that's on it that it's my one. Okay, everyone have a wonderful week. If you make your own coral reef or make anything from the coral reef, share it with me. I love looking at people's creations that they've used my tutorials for. I got someone shared one of their badgers. She was going on a first date and she wanted to make something for him and he loved badgers and she used my badger tutorial to make a badger charm. And I tell you what, that badger, considering it was a first badger, looked as good as my 100th badger. So that girl's got some skills on her. I'm not sharing it because it's not my place to share other people's work. But ooh, it makes me happy. Really does. Squeaky happy. Right, okay. Like, follow, share, all the good stuff. I really, really value you all. Oh, we're at 300 subscribers on YouTube. Woo! 300! I know we're still not at affiliate level, which I think is 1,000. But that's 300. That's good. I'll take it. Very happy. Okay, see you all next week. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Bye!